Hello again, YouTube. Welcome back to our next episode of Doubleheader with two NFL stories for the price of one. My name is Keenan Costain, and he is Amir Daniels. And with the NFL draft fast approaching, we're, we are going to talk about two draft classes with three quarterbacks each. That's coming up next on Doubleheader. All right, Amir, welcome back to our next episode of Doubleheader. So, how you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling good. Can't wait. Cannot wait. I'm waiting for 2 weeks to record our second episode, and by the looks of that screen right there, gonna involve three quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. And now before we get into that, I we actually have a few announcements for you guys. So our first episode of Doubleheader is out now on YouTube and Spotify. So feel free to check that out. And another thing too is that we have an Instagram page called Podcast Live on Instagram now. So if you go ahead and click the links down below, it'll take you to those types of pages and for more content. So without further ado, Amir, let's just jump into this 1983 NFL draft class quarterback. So here we go. We have the we have the quarterback draft class of 1983 with John Elway, Kelly, and Dan Marino. Now, Amir, when you see those three, what do you expect from these types of different types of quarterbacks?
Hmm. Super Bowls, Pro Bowls, Gold Jackets.
Absolutely. And we're gonna find out like where did they get drafted to on today's episode. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So the 1983 NFL draft, which was took place on April 26th through the 27th in New York, the Sheraton Hotel. Sorry, I'm probably butchering that. In New York City, New York. So if you think about New York City, Amir, what do you think when it comes to the NFL draft?
A lot players, dressed in sport jackets, bring their families along. Cameras gonna be on them from the minute they get in, and it's gonna be saying, "All right, who's going first? Who's going second, and so forth."
Yep, yeah, absolutely. And we got this guy on the left here. Uh, Pete Pete Rozelle, who was the commissioner at the time, in the 1980s. So he's definitely going to be involved in this story. And also, we got some teams to talk about throughout the story as well, with the Denver Broncos, Miami Dolphins, and the Baltimore Colts. And wait a minute, Baltimore Colts. I mean, you got to think about maybe an older team back in the day, and they definitely got a big role when it comes to the first couple of slides of this story. And we also got the Buffalo Bills as well. So let's move forward to our first player in this draft, and John Elway. Now, Amir, what is your predictions when it comes to John Elway in this draft class?
Oh, he's gonna sit a few games, learn maybe towards the end of the season, get some playing time. And as his career progresses, he'll lead the team to a few Super Bowls, maybe win a few titles, and definitely play a few Pro Bowls.
Yes, absolutely. Those are some great guesses, and without further ado, let's see if you're right. And wow, seems like a pretty good resume resume to me. Excuse me. John Elway was drafted first overall in the 1983 NFL Draft. And look at his senior college stats, Amir. 262 out of 405 completion yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions with a passer rating of 145.6. Now, when it came to the NFL draft and the selection process, the the commissioner at the time, Pete Rozelle, made this call. Baltimore selects is the first choice in the draft quarterback John Elway of Stanford. So you're thinking Baltimore Colts, John Elway, and you're probably thinking, they're not around anymore. And you're right. You're right. And you're probably wondering, how did this happen? So, without further ado, there's more to this draft processing story.
Hmm.
All right. We have the 1982 Baltimore Colts and John Elway's comment. The Baltimore Colts finished with a record of 0-8-1. The tie was against the Green Bay Packers. The quarterback at the time was a 22-year-old, keep in mind, folks, a rookie named Mike Packel from Arizona State. And with Packel started 9 games for the Colts, had 111 completions for 221 attempts, and that's what I was trying to say earlier in the previous slide. And anyways, for 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and was sacked 16 times. Now you're probably thinking, wait, 0-8-1? There's probably 16 games throughout the regular season? Wrong. This is absolutely wrong. A player strike resulted in the cancellation of 7 games in the NFL played a 9-game schedule. Now, Amir, I didn't do much research on this sort of thing with the player strike. What do you happen to know anything about the strike or what went down throughout that time?
Well, yeah, the players wanted better pension, better payment, and better free way to join any team they wanted. And the NFL refused, and they went on strike.
Yep, that makes sense to me. And we've had a few examples later on down the road, but um, that's definitely a good way to put it. So with John Elway, back to John Elway real fast. So he refused to play for the Baltimore Colts in 1983, and they agreed to trade him away to the Denver Broncos in exchange for offensive tackle Chris Hinton, who was Denver's first round pick in 1983, which led the quarterback Mike Herman and a 1984 first round pick guard Ron Sock. So that's a big trade when it comes to, pick drafting the first pick away. You get some uh, assets back, excuse me. And yeah, so that's a pretty big deal when it comes to the Denver Broncos. And if you're the Baltimore Colts right now, you're probably thinking, oh, we may have made the right decision. We may not. So we'll see how it goes later down the road here when it comes to the season. But next up we have Jim Kelly. Now, Amir, Jim Kelly. What is his? What do you think his draft stock will be?
Well, judging by the how where he's going to be drafted, he's going to go to a team that plays in cold weather. May struggle a few years, but as time goes on, he's going to be turn this team to a contender. Definitely a Super Bowl contender.
All right, all right. I like that prediction. I like that prediction a lot. So without further ado, drum roll, please. Jim Kelly, James Edward Kelly, mainly known as Jim Kelly, was drafted by the Buffalo Bills with the 14th pick in the draft from the University of Miami. The Bills were coming off a 4-5 record in the 1982 season. And yes, folks, this happened to all 30 teams throughout the NFL. There wasn't any teams having some sort of advantage. This happened to every single team, throughout that season. So if you take a look at Jim Kelly's college stats coming off in 1982 uh, at Miami, were this 51 through 81 for 585 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception and a passer rating of 133.4. So, as I was doing research for Mr. Jim Kelly, there was a draft memories interview on Buffalo Bills.com, years after he played for the Bills, and he said, said a quote like this: "I did not want to play for Green Bay. I don't want to play for Minnesota, and I sure don't want to play for Buffalo." Wait a minute. He didn't get traded. He didn't go anywhere else. Amir, like when you see this quote right here, he did not want to play for Buffalo. Like, what is your thought process on this?
Well, I read about this too, and the reason why he didn't want to play for the Bills, their ownership was very cheap with its players. They were coming off of a less than stellar 82 season, and they played outdoors in the cold, and he's coming from a program in Miami where the weather's nice. And also, he wanted to play for the Steelers because they were his hometown, and Terry Bradshaw's still playing, but about to enter his last season. But hey, you got a hometown kid here. Why not choose him?
Right, definitely. That's a good point. But anyway, going through the later in the video the, the draft memories video, he later stated that it turned out to be the greatest decision he has ever made, and we'll find out later down the road when it comes to the regular season play. So next up, we have Dan Marino, and and who was selected in the 27th overall pick in the 1983 draft from Pittsburgh. Now, here's a quote from Pete Rozelle with the call, and I quote: Miami Dolphins first round selection. The Dolphins select quarterback Dan Marino of Pittsburgh. Now, with Marino's college stats his senior year was this: 58.4% completion percentage of 187 point yards per game, 17 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. Now, when I was watching that draft video of Dan Marino being selected, people were excited, but hold on. There was one person, that came from Sports Illustrated reporter Paul Zimmerman, made some comments about the Mariano selection, and he says, "I don't understand it. Number one, I don't know how who, I don't know is going to work with him down there. Where is the great quarterback genius?" So when he says that, Amir, like, I don't know who is going to work with him down there. Where's the great quarterback genius? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, going into the draft, Marino, like Kelly and Elway, was expected to go like top 10, but then some drug rumors started to come about, which hurt his draft stock. Of course, that wasn't true. Then, as for regards to Zimmerman's comment, and by the looks of Marino's final stats in his final year, he was known to force a lot of passes, which resulted in incompletions, interceptions, and in NFL, you don't want to be doing that because it's going to cost your teams games. But judging by the team he's going to, he's in good hands with Coach Don Shula, and he's got two guys named Don Strock and Dave Woodley who have experience. So I say like I said before, he's in good hands, and give him a few games, or a few years, he'd be talked about in the same conversation, say a Joe Montana or Terry Bradshaw.
Yep, definitely, absolutely. With Terry Bradshaw, you know, being from, playing for Pittsburgh, and that's a good point to definitely to live by, or to idolize for sure. I should say. So when Zimmerman later stated in the reaction that the Dolphins needed help in other directions, and maybe the help what the Dolphins needed was not there. So, and what is the reaction to that comment as well?
Well, I earlier I did bring up David Woodley, who led them to the Super Bowl a few months prior, but their offense was non-existent in that game, and they lost. They came up short as a result. So, I mean, you address that, but also, man, you shore up your running game. 'Cause the running game in Miami hasn't been the same the last few years, and receivers. I mean, yeah, without an off receivers are a big part of the offense too, and they didn't catch a lot of passes in that Super Bowl, so you got to boost up your passing game. And one more note before we move on, you just brought up Pittsburgh. Even when Chuck Noll, the coach of the Steelers at the time, heard those drug rumors, it made him skeptical, and he said, and he passed on him. And I think he would have second thoughts down the road, and when he could have drafted one, if not two, local kids from Pittsburgh.
Right, absolutely. And Amir, how do you think Dan Marino's draft stock went down with the possibility of drug problems? So can you elaborate on that as well?
Well, the NFL around this time, there were a lot of drug rumors and incidents going on, and that scared up a lot of owners and coaches because when you get drugs, it unfortunately affects your attitude, your personality, and your performance on the field and off the field, and brought a bad image to the NFL, who, by the way, is coming off a strike-shortened season, and now they got a drug problem going around. And long story short, they're trying to clean up their image and around this time.
Right, for sure. Yep, that's a big reason why the draft stock is the way it is today, and you know, and well, with I think that's a good note to leave up to leave off on. So, without further ado, regular season 1983. So, with the regular season, like I said, what is your predictions? For 1983.
Well, for Marino, I know he'll sit behind Don and David, but then I think he might start mid-season and win a few games. Same with John Elway. He'll start behind Steve DeBerg, win a few games for them, and Jim Kelly. I think he might sit his first year, might get a few playing time in relief because I know the Bills, their quarterback situation not as stable as is in Denver and Miami.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I like those predictions a lot. So let's see how they how it unfolded. So with John Elway, since he went first overall, his stats in the 1983-1984 season was this: 123 to 259 passing, 47.5% completion percentage of 1,663 yards, 7 touchdowns, 14 interceptions with a passer rating of 54.9 and was sacked 28 times. Ouch.
Yeah.
Those don't look good at all for Mr. Elway. But hold on, hold on, folks. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening this audio version here, there is some hope. Denver finished with a 9-7 record in the regular season, and the Broncos were able to make it to the playoffs, but ending up to losing into the Seattle Seahawks in the wild card round. Okay, so the stats don't really say how the season went, but hey, still finished pretty strong. Despite low numbers and losing in the wild card round with John Elway on your team. That's not too bad.
No, and like I said before, Steve DeBerg got majority of starts, including one in the playoffs. But make the playoffs with a new coach, new quarterback. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good season.
Right. John Elway was definitely flying the bench for a little bit. With the starting quarterback during that season, but that's not too bad at all for Elway in its rookie campaign. So without further ado, we have Jim Kelly. How did you do, sir? Ooh, it says here he didn't make his debut until 1986. So he was optimistic going into his 1986 season, and it was a much later start for him. So with that being optimistic, it wasn't really the case when Jim Kelly said that. Buffalo season was a 4-12 record with Jim Kelly playing and starting all 16 games. Ooh, and the stats are the stats are pretty good. They're solid, but 285, 480, 59.4% completion percentage, or 3,593 yards, 22 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. So that's pretty solid. But with the record doesn't really hold up.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it kind of goes back to his point why he didn't want to play for the Bills because before he played his first snaps for him in '86, they went or they didn't play for him the first 3 years after they picked him. They went 2-14 during that stretch, and yeah, their ownership was in disarray. But they did pick up a few guys around down the road that would help them later on. As for Kelly, he did play in the USFL for the Houston Gamblers. So if you ever go to the Hall of Fame and see a Kelly jersey with number 12, that belongs to Jim Kelly.
oh wow, that's interesting. I
Hmm.
didn't didn't know that. So
Hmm.
if you have the time to check that out, folks, go free. You know. So so who do we got left? Who do we got left? Oh, that's right, Dan Marino. You're up next, sir. And wow, okay. This seems promising. Turned out to be a fantastic season. Okay. 7 wins, 2 losses, no ties, playing 9 of the 16 games played this season. Wow, that's not too bad. I like this. So his stats are this, folks: 173 out of 296, 58.4%. Completion percentage, 2,210 yards, 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Wow. And only playing 9 of the 16 games played. That's that's pretty good. Oh, and another good thing, folks. They finished with a 12-4 regular season in '83. Ended up losing to the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round. So yeah, this is pretty good. I like this. So great job, Dan. Great job. So Amir, 9 out of 16 games played. You know, who who did he play for under Dan Marino?
Who did he play? Don Shula.
Don Shula. Yeah, that's right. Don
Hmm.
Shula played, you know, for under Dan Marino for the starting quarterback job, and I might have missed that earlier, and or didn't catch that, so my apologies there. Yeah, but looking at these numbers, they are pretty good. I'll take them. I'll take them for sure. So if you're probably wondering, how did these quarterbacks, you know, face off between one another? Well, let's just start off with John Elway. You know, so John Elway versus Jim Kelly. John and Jim met only 6 times during their careers. With John Elway versus Dan Marino, John and John and Dan only faced off 3 times during their careers in 1985 and in the 1998-1999 overall season. And you're probably thinking, oh, that's not really a lot. And you're right. Now, Amir, like, yeah, Jim, John and Jim only meeting 6 times. Um, what is your thought process when it comes to having those two only playing a certain amount of times against one another?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why we didn't get a lot of Kelly Elway, Marino Elway matchups due to the fact the NFL only had 28 teams during their careers at one point 26. So there was like or excuse me, 29. Hold on. I had this typed out right here. It was, let me see it. Yep, excuse me. 26 teams when they started, 28 by the time Kelly's career ended in '96. So at one point, the AFC East and West had 5 teams, whereas the Central only had 4. And that, as a result, there was in long story short, a lot of scheduling quirks that prevented these guys from playing against each other more often. And also, Kelly, of course, missed first 4 years of his career, and by the time he got in, the Bills were still in a rebuild, and then right as LA's career got started to take off. Marino's career with the Dolphins, they were like middle of the pack, so they didn't finish the same place in their divisions during their at the same time, which were preventing us from getting more Marino Elway matchups. Which example right here with Dan and John, they only met 3 times, and it took like 13 years apart. Like that more
Right.
ramble.
Yep. Yep. You're fine. You're fine. But yeah, that totally makes sense. And we got some more players to get to with the QB face-off section of this presentation. So that makes sense. So Jim Kelly, how did you do on QB face-off? And like you said, 6 times there versus John Elway during the respective season, 5 in the regular season, once in the playoffs. Jim won 4 out of 6 times, including the one playoff game. So they had a few moments, Kelly and Elway, despite uh despite Kelly and Elway Kelly missing a few, few years and and all that. But Kelly and Marino, how did you do against uh one another? Okay. Kelly and Marino faced off each other in 21 games throughout their careers, so we definitely have a bigger portion size, playing 3 playoff games. Jim Kelly won all 3 of 3 playoff games and held an 11-7 win advantage in their 18 regular season meetings. So, Amir, a much bigger portion size when it comes to Jim Kelly's side. So, what are your thoughts on the Kelly versus Elway and Kelly versus Marino?
Well, again, with Ellie and Kelly again, well, they started to meet, of course, between 87 and 95. And of course, around that time, they were competing for the Super Bowl, or spots in the Super Bowl and contenders. So that's why we got a lot of their matchups during that stretch. As for Kelly and Marino, what really helped this out is that they played in the same division, the AFC East, and just a lot of both teams were good. So they were not only you saw a lot of them, you got to see them on like Monday night, Sunday night football, and the playoffs.
Yeah, you know, like you said it, they played in big games on Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, what have you, and that's how they were able to probably see each other so many times with with Elway and Marino, excuse me. But yeah, those are some good points there. So the last player we need to get to is Dan Marino's side. How did you do versus Jim, Mr. Marino? So Jim Kelly had a record of 14-7 against Dan Marino. Uh, they faced 21 times, 18 times in the regular season, 3 in the playoffs. Dan, oh, that must be a type of folks. My bad. But anyway, on to John versus Elway. Um, they went 2-0 in the regular season. However, Elway won their only 2 playoff meetings against one another. So I would say it's pretty close to the John Elway slide. Not um, you know, or the Jim Kelly slide. Excuse me. So I would say a lot happened, but at the same time, a lot did not happen between the two. So with Jim versus Dan and John versus Dan, what are your thoughts when you see those numbers?
Well, I do know when the John and Dan and Jim, excuse me. I know Jim's teams were more complete, so they had a running game, better defense, and also the cold weather, which ironically the reason why Jim didn't want to play for them worked in his favor. we played the Dolphins because the Dolphins were a warm weather team, passing team, and but didn't have a strong running game or defense, and that worked against them. And whenever they faced the Bills late in the season and their two or three playoff, I mean, and all three actually too, like just the Bills are just a better rounded team. As for John and Dan, like I said before, they only met three times. The first one was like the fourth week of the '85 season with Dan beating LA and Denver, and then we had to wait all the way to the end of the '98 season for them to finally meet again on Monday Night Football. And then, lo and behold, they meet again in the playoffs a few weeks later. So it's like in what will be LA's last season and Dan Marino's penultimate season. And reason being because they weren't scheduling clerks and not facing the same place in divisions. But for very little matches we had Dan and John and Jim and John still had some memorable matchups. I mean, close games, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and the playoffs.
Yeah, so you mean like you said, there was a big gap between, the 2, and, we had to wait a few years for that to happen, so I think you hit the nail on the head when you explained it pretty well, so where are they now? So, John Elway ended up with 2 Super Bowl rings with the Denver Broncos, 2 times in 98 and 1999. 1998 and 1999, excuse me. The first one was against the Green Bay Packers, and the second one was against the Atlanta Falcons. And Elway turned out to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer in 2004. So good job there, Amir.
Hmm.
So, so with Jim Kelly, despite Jim Kelly having an outstanding career for the Buffalo Bills in the mid 1980s through the 1990s with 4 Super Bowl appearances, he was basically, able to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2002 despite not getting that ring. And finally, last but not least, we have Dan Marino. And, you know, we were both thinking that Dan Marino was going to have the best out of all of them. And we were right. So, um, but he never managed to win the Super Bowl ring, kind of like what Jim Kelly try to do, but he was able to get into the Football Hall of Fame in 2005. So, are you surprised by, just looking at these notes, doing research on these guys? Are you surprised how these players turn out to be?
I'm not surprised. I mean, they all led their teams to the playoffs on numerous occasions. Led to fair number of Pro Bowls, and then in Dan's case, got a few All Pros in there, and but Super Bowl was, I mean, outside LA's final two Super Bowls was not kind of all three. These got them, because I know during that stretch, the NFC just dominated the Super Bowl, including LA got drugged like 55-10 against the Niners in '89. Kelly got his Bills got curb stomped by the Cowboys in back-to-back occasions in '92 and '93, and then with Marino, he made it there a second year, but lost to Montana's 49ers and never played in that big stage again. And then by the end of their careers, they were fortunately injuries are taking their toll. But thankfully, John was able to win back-to-back Super Bowls against Green Bay and Atlanta. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think you put it best there, Amir. So, that is the end of my story here. So, we're gonna stop sharing the screen. And coming up next, we have the 2004 NFL Draft, and there's a few, quarterbacks you may have recognized, but that's coming up next on Double Header. You're listening to Double Header. All
perfect.
right, folks, we are back.
Yep. And now it's my turn. So Keenan, ready to take you back to 2004?
Absolutely, I am ready.
All right. So before we begin, do you own any Eli Manning, Philip Rivers, or Drew Brees cards?
I unfortunately do not, actually, but, they seem, rather interesting. What are we gonna discuss today?
Well, you are right. So let's take you back to April 24th to 25th, 2004, at Radio City Music Hall, where the Giants, Chargers, and Steelers are looking for new quarterbacks. But first, we had to go back to 2003, or and then involving these guys here. Okay. So you might recognize this guy right here, Keenan.
Hmm, okay.
You're probably wondering where the cards come into play, so it's not sure you can see it on my end, but if you ever have a Drew Brees Saints card, you're going to see that he played for the Chargers at one point, and as the case is here. But his career in San Diego didn't get up to a good start, judging by these numbers. It don't look too good here, Keenan.
No, they do not finish with a 4-12 record, worst record in the NFL. Let's see, let's go down a little bit. 11 touchdowns, ooh, 15 interceptions, ooh, only 2 games and 11 starts, and wow, that's not that does not look too good.
Nope, and yeah, overall, he has only won 11 games and 27 starts since becoming starter in 2002. And the Chargers are not sold on Mr. Breeze, and his time's running out. But luckily, they had the first overall selection in the draft. That's where this guy comes in. Which one of my edits aren't working out? Mr. Eli Manning out of Ole Miss. Yeah, he's going to be their pick for the Chargers, but something looks wrong with his picture, Keenan. I see a big red circle over Qualcomm Stadium.
Ooh, so was that the reason why Eli did not want to play because, you know, of his father?
Well, his father backed his decision, but he didn't want to play for the Chargers because they, well, had a reputation of poor quarterback play, as we used to saw with Drew Brees and his predecessor, Ryan Leaf, who, well, stunk up the joint in San Diego. So, yeah, Eli just can't really blame for not wanting to play for the Chargers. But unfortunately, the Chargers have other ideas. So come draft day, Saturday, April 24th, March. It's your child tag debut. Take it away. With the first choice of the 2004 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Eli Manning, quarterback, Mississippi.
Wow. Wow.
Yep, and I pulled up this Eli Manning card here, and you may not be able to see it well, but it says here drafted first overall by the Chargers, despite wearing a different uniform on that card. So that being said, yeah, look at that picture.
Yeah, he doesn't look too pleased to be there.
Nope, and fans, the Charger fans that are at Radio City Hall, well, they let them know, they learned that Eli didn't want to play for them, and they let him know it by chanting Eli sucks and booing him as in the background, those who were watching this on TV back in 2004, and further proving Eli's point. Why would I want to play for an organization that's going to be toxic and unsupportive? So, of course, as they're going to the brim room, well, something's going on between these two guys right here, and you might see another familiar face.
Uh, whoa, is that John Elway?
Yep, that is John Elway. And what? You probably
Must,
why is he here? Well,
yeah.
lo and behold, 19 years earlier, this guy right here, Mr. Ernie Accorsi, he was a part of the Colts organization when they drafted John Elway. He was their GM at the time, and he said in an interview, I don't want to go down in history as a guy who didn't job John Elway, and sure enough, he did. And the problem is, John Elway didn't want to play for the Colts. He wanted to play elsewhere, that being the Denver Broncos, which brings us back to Eli Manning. He didn't want to play for the Chargers. Chargers, and now he wanted to play for another team, which is why Ernie Forsythe's entered the picture, and he's talking with Mr. AJ Smith, saying, "Hey, the guy you picked don't want to play for you guys. Let's see if he wants to play for us." Because, as you can see here, Jesse Palmer and Kerry Collins, yeah, they didn't do so well in 2003. Look at those
No,
numbers,
they
Keenan.
no, they did not. Let's see if I can just read these numbers out for our Spotify listeners. 3,642 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Ooh, and both released in the offseason, so they both got the boot.
Yeah, and those who are wondering about the name Jesse Palmer, you probably say he's the guy who does television for ABC. Yes, it's that Jesse Palmer.
Oh, I recognize that name.
Yeah, he played in the NFL, rather forgettable career, but I say it's worked out as a television personality. As for Collins, he went to Oakland. As for the Giants, well, they're picking three spots after the Chargers because they both finished with identical 4-12 records. And which meant whoever trade talks between Ernie and AJ, they got to get done quick because Giants are gonna be on the clock real soon. So let's see how they fare. Ah, Mr. Rivers. What do you make of these pictures, Keenan?
Oh, Philip Rivers. Um, yep, smiling. Wearing raising up that San Diego jersey at the time. You know, I, I mean, as um, you know, spoiler alert. You know, he turned out to be a great quarterback in the NFL. So,
Well, you might notice the picture on the left in this chart or Phil Rivers card I have here. See more. It says Giants on the left, but of course in the middle he's holding up a Chargers jersey, and then here's Eli holding the Giants jersey here. So wondering what happened. Wow, a 12-year-old boy, believe it or not, comes into the green room and approaches Eli and his family, telling him that he had been traded to the Giants. And Eli's just like elated but perplexed. He's wondering, okay, we have a 12-year-old kid just comes into the room saying I've been traded. Is this official? Well, Eli, here's a phone for you, sir. It's Ernie Corse, and he's got a question for you. Excuse me, Mr. Manning, do you want to play for the Giants? Yes, sir. Well, you're not, you're playing for the Giants. You don't have to worry about playing for San Diego. As for Mr. Rivers, well, since the Giants are still on the clock, they're going to select you, but don't worry, won't be playing in East Weatherford. You'll be heading off to sunny San Diego because I heard that their coach was very impressed with your performance in the Senior Bowl, and lo and behold, you're going to be playing for him. That being Mr. Marty Schottenheimer. And you might notice these two picks right here, Keenan, or third round pick and a first round pick. Mhm.
yeah, the one on the very far right.
Yep. So probably wondering who did they get in return? That being the Chargers. Well, two Pro Bowlers, Nate Kading, place kicker, and linebacker Sean Merriman. And before I head on to the next slide, I like this photo right here with them posed in front of Peyton's picture as a Colt. Just thought it was very fitting.
Yeah, sure.
And speaking of Peyton, there he is there. But for the sake of the story, we got to focus on your brother, Philip, and um, this guy right here. Where's he at, Keenan?
Well, I couldn't really see the card because of your screen, but oh, um, let's see. I saw a little bit of yellow. Oh, is Ben Roethlisberger correct?
That's right. Yeah. You're probably wondering, okay, where's he at? Well, Mr. Ben, yeah, he had to wait a little while. And while he was waiting, he and his agent, I think I got the wrong PowerPoint up. Hold on. All right, here we go. It's wondering why my edits weren't coming in. So yeah, see this guy right here, Keenan? This man right here?
The guy with the black suit on.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
Lee
Mhm.
Steinberg. He's very popular agent in the sporting industry. Well, him and Big Ben were watching the Eli Rivers trade, and well, they weren't too pleased with that because the Giants were interested in Roethlisberger. They visited
Hmm.
with them. They were, of course, Giants didn't get results from Kerry and Jesse, so they needed a quarterback. But unfortunately, they drafted Eli. Well, Eli got drafted by the Chargers. Then they traded him to the Giants. They drafted Rivers, yada, yada, yada. So they had to sit and play the waiting game. So, but luckily for them, they visited the Steel City, and sure enough, they were interested in him. So, from the 11th overall pick, guess who's going to Pittsburgh? This man right there. All right.
Ben Roethlisberger. Hmm.
The, the pick is a bit skeptical because look what we have here. Let me circle this name right here, Tommy Maddox. And they have a quarterback. So why would they pick him? Why would they select another one, Keenan?
Uh, they came off an inconsistent season in 2003. I mean, 18 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. So you're like not great, but not good either. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. And yeah, finished 19th in scoring offense. And per Tom, he's been in the NFL for a decade, so his best years might be behind him. But it might work out for Big Ben. He's got a veteran on the roster. So, that being said, the 2004 regular season, any predictions for three draft mates?
uh, if I had to choose, maybe probably Ben Roethlisberger has the the better season over Philip and Eli. But I might be wrong. Maybe a playoff berth for Ben. Maybe Eli and Philip will be in the hunt as well. So without further ado, let's see the reveal. Excuse me.
All right, you asked, you shall receive. So, survey says, Mr. Eli, okay. See you backing up a legend, Kurt Warner. See you getting some playing time and some growing pains. All right. Okay, so you're right, Keenan. With terms of Eli, the Giants would be in the hunt. They were 5-4 going into week 10. But of course, Eli was sitting behind Mr. Warner, so he didn't. So his 5 wins returned to number 13. As for you, Eli, oh, yeah, Keenan, these stats don't look too
Ooh,
good.
as only as one was a 28-24 victory over Dallas in the regular season. 6-10. Okay, 6 touchdowns. Ooh, 9 interceptions. 55.4 passer. Ooh, 1-8 win loss record. I mean, not good at all, folks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and look where they were at the time with Warner, 5-4, right? Coming up with 2 losses, but needed a spark on offense. Figured, we drafted this quarterback. He's supposed to got start him sooner or later, and maybe he wins. Give me some growing pains, but he might lead us to a few wins. Well, unfortunately, the Giants fell out of contention by week 15, and their offense. Look at that. One only has 11.4 points per game with Eli under center compared to the 20 points per game of Warner under center. So yeah, big drop off.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to see. Eli, drop off with this, but hey, maybe the next player on this list will probably be a little bit better.
Well, let's see who do we got next. This thing. Okay. Let me slow today. PowerPoint. All right. Mr. Big Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, see you getting along well with Mr. Maddox. Okay, Mr. Maddox look a bit injured in this second photo, and oh yeah, Big Ben, you're playing. It looks like you got thrown, got thrust in the lineup. Well, soon, what happened here? Okay, here we go. All right, so Big Ben, yeah, of course, got back up Mr. Maddox. Unfortunately, 2 weeks into the season, Tommy injured his elbow. So, Big Ben, here's your shot. And look, I'd say it was an up and down day for the Miami of Ohio product, Keenan.
Yeah, so as you can see here, folks, you know, came into the lineup, Ben Roethlisberger did, you know, the team was down 20-0. He threw his first touchdown of his career, a 3 yard score to Antron Randall. Uh, L, is it EL, Vladimir?
Randall L.
Randall L, excuse me. Unfortunately, he was unable to pull off a comeback. Okay, that's fine. You know, coming in mid game, that's gonna be hard to do. But he did a pretty good job during his time during this game. 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and including a pick six, 51 yarder, courtesy of Chris McAllister, which sealed the game for Ben Roethlisberger. 82.5 uh, uh,
Pass rating.
rushing passer rating, excuse me. But
Yeah,
you know, not too bad.
yeah. So, of course, get thrust in the lineup, going to have some period success and some struggles. But it looks like the writing, yeah, okay. We might want to turn back to Tommy Maddox because he has the experience and the elbow injury doesn't look bad, right?
Right, right.
Something. There we go. Oh, wait, hold on here. I see Big Ben celebrating it's Tom Brady. Okay, in a division championship. And Tom Brady. What are you doing here, Tom? I thought I was talking about Big Ben. Oh, I see. Whoa, the Big Ben. Hey, look at this, Kenan. Dirks,
Wow.
he didn't lose a start the rest of the season.
Yeah, after that game, he did not lose a start, folks. So what what a phenomenal bounce back after like just one game.
Yeah, and the highlight, you beat the defending Super Bowl champions at home on Halloween. A rookie doing that. This is a rookie, folks. And by the way, this
Yeah.
Patriots team won 21 games in a row at the time as well.
Wow, that's actually really impressive, and I really did not know about Tom that side of Tom Brady's career.
Yep, but we'll get to you in a few seconds, Tom. As for Big Ben, Seals went go from 6-10 to 15-1, AFC North champions, and a trip to AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. I think. I hope. Oh, that's right. This is you lost to the Patriots at home in the championship game. But either way, look at these numbers. That's
Let's
seven.
see, rookie numbers: 2,621 passing yards, 17 touchdowns. Okay, I like 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Okay, solid. 98.1 passer rating. Uh, AP Offensive Rookie of the Year award, and that's what he's holding in the middle of the screen, right?
Yep. So I didn't walk away with a Lombardi trophy. Got a Rookie of the Year trophy, Big Ben, and looks like things are. And but there should be a Lombardi trophy in the near future for him. I'm not sure about your friend in East Weatherford, but either way, go Big Ben, and he looks, I gotta say, real handsome in these pictures of him in 2004.
Yep, definitely for sure. So let's see what happens with Mr. I think Philip Rivers is next.
Yes, he is. Mhm. Okay. Hi, Mr. Rivers. You looks confused here, Kenan.
He does look confused. Let's just see, what does the PowerPoint say?
Well, Miss it says that Drew Brees. Well, yeah, we didn't forget about you, sir. You're gonna play a factor in this. And I see you got the Honolulu, an NFL trophy, and there's some championship pennants. Well, let's see what happened here. Yeah, Rivers, man, that's not the way to start the rookie season. A holdout.
Yeah, and in case you guys don't know what a holdout is, Amir would gladly explain what a holdout is. Definition term, please.
Well, holdout means you're asking for money. One side says no, the other says I need it. There's going to be power struggle. Eventually, one or both sides would come to terms. And in this case, they did for Rivers. But by the time that happened, we're in August, and you haven't hit the playbook, sir, so you're behind. But it benefited this guy right here, Mr. Breeze. Look at this. Yeah, you're about to run out of
So
town, sir, and look what you've done.
So let me read this. Let me read this text for you, folks. But Rivers' holdout was beneficial for Breeze' favor as he won the starting job, and went on to have his best season in San Diego, completing 65.5% of his passes, 3,159 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 104.8 passing rating. He also led the Chargers to a turnaround season from a 4-12 record to a 12-4 record in the first playoff appearance in 10 seasons. Wow. AFC West title in 11 seasons, Pro Bowl selection, and the AP Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, so basically, so while Rivers was playing, so while, like I said before, Drew Brees got a second chance and made the most of it. AFC West champions, playoff appearance, Pro Bowl honors, AP Comeback Player of Year honors, and it looks like man, Rivers, your stay in San Diego might be short. Okay. All right. Yeah, 'cause you're sitting behind Mr. Breeze and Mr. Doug Flutie, and then. But okay, so in that case, to me, they might be. Okay, she did get some action in rookie year. Took by that point, it was charged that everything locked up. And she put up some good numbers. Completed 5 passes for 50 yards and 3 first touchdown passes to fellow rookie Malcolm Floyd in a 24-17 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, third on the depth chart for a fourth overall pick. That's not what we're looking for, Kenan.
Definitely not. And if I can read some of this text here, folks. He was third on the depth chart. He did not see any of his first game action until week 17, which is the one January 2nd, 2005 against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, you know, coming in, go, uh, doing, not doing, 5 for 8, 33 yards and 1 touchdown. Okay, pretty good. And the 13th pass to Malcolm Floyd. Yeah, that's decent. That's good, but you know, as you can see, folks, Breeze was Drew Brees was the start of the show, and as for Phil Rivers, he was, you know, probably nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, most like I said, I mean that holdout really hindered his learning process because of course he's trying to negotiate. He hasn't even touched the playbook, let alone learned it. And by the time he does, well, it's already preseason, so it's not. He hasn't learned the terminology. Whereas Mr. Brees here, he knows the playbook, he knows the team, and it's like, hey, my this is a second chance at life. Let's take advantage of it, and he did. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
looks like Drew Brees' time San Diego is secure, and Philip, you might be out of town. All right, so career turnouts. Maybe it might not be over, Mr. Rivers. So predictions?
Uh, maybe Phil Rivers can turn his season around, or his career around. Ben Roethlisberger, you'll probably get that elusive championship reign, and Eli Manning, you know, he might get a couple. So without further ado, career turnout slide, please.
All right. So first, we'll go to East Rutherford and visit Mr. Manning. Okay. See a division championship in Honolulu. Okay, so I see some Pro Bowls and some playoff games being hosted in East Rutherford in the near future. Oh, wait a minute here. Two Super Bowls. Hey,
Hmm.
you were right, Keenan. All right. All right. Let's see what we
Yeah.
got here. All right. So got to rocky start, but led the Giants to the playoffs 6 times and 2 Super Bowl championships, both over the Patriots. Now, the Patriots keep coming up, keep popping up. Why is that? Oh, I know why. Your team in both occasions were underdogs in the game, but in a true first overall pick fashion, you were able to lead the Giants on game drives in the fourth quarter to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl and walked away with MVP honors. Let's give them a round of applause there.
Yeah, let's go. And what was the years when Eli won the Super Bowl, Amir? Just in case if people don't know, like what years did Eli win?
2007 and 2011, 4 years apart.
I w- yep, and I was able to see at least one of those Super Bowl victories because I didn't really start watching football until 2008, 2009 season. So you know, so luckily I was able to see one of those championship uh, victories and Super Bowl games. So that's a that's a pretty cool stat for for me personally. And I don't know about you, Amir. Amir, what about yourself?
Well, I was able to see the one in 2011 when they beat the Patriots in Indianapolis, and I picked the Giants to win because I said, hey, they did it before in 2007, they'll do it again in 2011, and sure enough, I was right. And speaking of
And
Mr. Manning, that
yeah,
was also you led the Giants to 2 NFC titles and selected the 4 Pro Bowls, hence the division championship and the Honolulu sign. And as of your last season in 2019, you own 29 franchise records, including the most starts, touchdown passes, and passing yards in Giants history. And your name's in the Ring of Honor, class of 2021, which is what he's at. So that's why he's looking to the fans in this picture to your right, or Keenan.
right, absolutely. And going back to that one of those Super Bowl wins against the Patriots, you know, in 2007, that's when the New York not New York, the New England Patriots went undefeated and won the playoff games. And once they got to the Super Bowl, they faced the hungry, Eli Manning looking for a second Super Bowl championship ring, and lo and behold, he did it. So,
And glad you brought up the '07
first,
season
first,
because even though he got into the playoffs the first 2 years after a rocky rookie season, it was still fans weren't sold on him and his coach Tom Coughlin because they were one and done both times. Eli had less than stellar regular seasons, and then so in that same case in '07, he had like 20 interceptions for a team that made the playoffs, and then but come January, that was new season, new Eli. He only threw a grand total of 2 picks or 1 pick in the playoffs, that being the Super Bowl. And when chips were on the line, I mean, people remember that near sack, and then next thing you know, he's throwing a pass to David Tyree, and a few plays later, Plaxico Burress touchdown, and Giants are world champions, and Patriots are 18-1. I mean, Eli's career just got better that from there.
right. And I just want to reiterate, folks, that was the first Super Bowl win, not the second. So I got my numbers backwards there. So my apologies, folks.
You're fine. And then course, Eli's career, we can't tell without his draft day snub to the city of San Diego, who didn't let him forget it. Look at these.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, that one on the left is a little bit interesting. You happen to have a story behind it?
Well, I guess, well, the Charger fans, they each time he visited them, and they only did it twice because Giants playing NFC, Chargers AFC. Well, the Chargers would let him know, saying you snubbed our city, we're gonna let you hear it again. So they would boo him, have a lot of have signs like him dressed in like drag attire, or just Eli Manning dummy right here, or dummy dressed in a Giants jersey with bearing Eli's number. And as for his career against the Chargers, yeah, he went 0 for 4 against the Chargers, whether in San Diego or LA. So, yeah, but he's got doesn't really matter, Eli. You got 2 rings. How did you fare, San Diego? Let's see. Oh, but first I gotta go to Pittsburgh. Oh, we'll get to you in a few moments, San Diego. And speaking of rings, what do we have here, Keenan?
Wow, a couple of division. I like it. I like it. Okay, without further ado, survey says,
2 Super Bowls for Big Ben. Okay, so I'm liking this trajectory. All right, so and I see that Heinz Field is going to be up and running in January, and a few trips to Honolulu. Okay, and sure enough, 2 Super Bowls for Big Ben, '06 and '09, and then 12 playoff appearances, 8 AFC North titles, and 3 trips to the Super Bowl. Okay, all right. And I see, okay, you also hold that will steal franchise records. 178 wins, 418 touchdown passes, and 64,088 passing yards. And you hold the record for most 500-yard games in NFL and franchise history with 4. Yeah, folks, he did that on 4 occasions.
wow, that's pretty impressive. And I remember watching that Super Bowl against Arizona as well. And I remember this particular play when it came down. I think Arizona was driving to the red zone and it was intercepted by a Steelers player, right?
Yep, that player was James Harrison, who took that interception to the house and put Seals up by 2 touchdowns going to
Yeah, and
halftime.
that was a yep, that was a big momentum. That was the second quarter, probably would about if my memory serves me correctly, maybe around 3 to 2 minutes left in the first half. So
It's actually at the last play of the first half, but
oh, okay. So my memory was not right there, but man, I would definitely have to go back and rewatch that clip again. I mean, I do remember it was a Steelers player. I just don't remember, what time it took place during the game. But good to know there. But
yep.
yeah, but
And that Super Bowl was a bounce back for Big Ben. And while he won his first 3 years prior, it wasn't his stats were rather forgettable, only completing 12 passes on 23 attempts for a buck 23, no scores, 2 interceptions, and a 22.6 passer rating. And so 3 years later, now he wins a wins a second, but does it in heroic fashion by leading Steelers from behind in the fourth quarter, with throwing the game-winning touchdown pass to Santonio Holmes. So hey, how about that? How about that?
absolutely, yeah. Look at those stats. If you're listening on Spotify, uh, all-time leader in wins with 178 passing yards with 6,000, right? 6,000?
64,000.
64,000, excuse me, 64,080 88 yards, touchdown passes with 418. He also had the most 500 yards. Wow. Most 500 yards passing games in franchise. in the franchise and in NFL history with 4. So definitely a man. And you have to be saying to yourself, this guy probably would have to win more Super Bowls than 2, right?
Well, yeah, because unfortunately, the Patriots were their decade dominance extended to the 2010s, but we'll save them for another video down the road. As for the 500-yard passing games, yeah, he won 3 out of the 4 in which he passed for 500 yards. Big Ben.
Yeah, that's really impressive. If you win if you win 75% of those, then you must be doing something right.
Oh yeah. So that leads me to Mr. Rivers. How did you fare out? How did you fare? All right, Drew, you mentioned the picture again. Not looking too good here. But now, okay, Rivers. Okay, it looks like your time might be coming, and it did. So, fortunately for Drew, 2000, he couldn't replicate 2004 and his 2005 season in a painful note, injured his shoulder in the last week of the regular season, which unfortunately the Chargers lost. And they were scared by his injury, so they sent him to this team right here, New Orleans Saints.
Hmm.
So, Mr. Rivers, here's the keys to the car. What? Don't make sure to don't mess it up. All right. A few months later, Philip, how's the car looking? Looking good, sir. What do we have here, Keenan?
A year later, Rivers won his first playoff victory, a 17 to 6 win in the AFC wildcard over the Tennessee Titans. A week after upsetting the Indianapolis Colts 28 to 24, in the divisional round, Rivers and the Chargers advanced to the AFC Championship. And you're telling me this is like the first year with Philip Rivers behind the wheel?
Well, actually, a second, because the bullet point above, it had a great first year start in 2006, won 14 games, AFC West champions, top seed in the AFC overall. But unfortunately, an old friend spoiled the parade, the Patriots. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were one and
So
done.
yeah, and well, yeah, that'll be definitely another story for another day, folks. We can promise you that. We'll definitely bring that up when we release that episode eventually. But back to Phil Rivers here. Um, Rivers played the entire game with a torn ACL. He was sustained it in the victory over the Colts. Despite his efforts, the Chargers once again to the Patriots. Okay, 21-12.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, late in the game against the Colts, he unfortunately injured his knee, and then yeah, it turned out his ACL was torn. But of course, with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line, he wasn't going to sit on the sideline. And lo and behold, he played the whole game with one healthy leg and knee in this case. Fortunately, the Chargers offense ran out of gas. They were only held to 4 field goals in that loss to the Patriots, and yeah, but but I think the Super Bowl is in Rivers' near future because you got him to the championship game in '07. So let's do it. Let's, let's see how we. Okay, all right. I don't see a Super Bowl here. Oh, okay. There's the West champions. Okay, Honolulu. But where's the Super Bowl? Ah, there it is. Okay, so you did win a Super Bowl, Rivers. Oh, never mind. There's a big red circle around it. What happened here? Oh, yeah, he never even had a chance to play in the Super Bowl. Only won 5 games in 14 postseason starts, Keenan.
Uh, so probably a great regular season player, but when it comes to the playoffs, it was a tough roller coaster ride for Mr. Rivers.
Well, yeah, him and then the Chargers, because of course, unfortunately, had the 2009 season, he only made the playoffs 3 times between after that, twice with the Chargers and once with the Colts. But he did put up some impressive numbers. I mean, 197 touchdown passes, 59,271 passing yards, and 123 wins. And hey, 228 starts. I mean, that's consecutive starts, folks, not overall. It's consecutive. So he didn't miss a game in spite of that ACL injury. Never missed time in the regular season. Fortunately, the Chargers, while they had the talent, didn't have the discipline, which is why they did not see a Super Bowl parade in San Diego or LA. And so yeah, towards the end of his career with the Chargers, they relocated back to LA because we couldn't find a new stadium in San Diego. And then by 2020, Phil Rivers was with a different team, the Colts, and did a pretty good job there in his first year. Led them to the playoffs. Sadly, it was one and done. And as you can tell by this number right here, only 5 postseason wins and 14 starts. But still a very good career nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely agreed there for sure. Yeah. Um, I think you hit the nail on the head, Amir. I mean, great career nonetheless. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, so he was basically old first version of Dan Marino. Eli's their version of Jim Kelly, and Big Ben's their version of John Elway.
Yeah, going back to my previous story earlier in this episode, yes, that would be a pretty. I would say that's a pretty fair comparison. And let us know what you think in the comments down below as well. And feel free to, if you have opinions about both stories, then feel free.
Mhm. And before we conclude, of course, being that they were drafted the same year, they had to cross paths at some point during their careers, right? Oops, and so and they did, and here we are. Hmm. So, what do you think of these numbers, Keenan?
Let's see. For our listening, to our audio audience listening, we have Rivers swept Eli 4-0. Big Ben outfield Eli, okay, 3-1, and Big Ben outlisted Philip, um, 4-3. So a lot of big Bens here for sure, on this graphic. And Eli, Big Ben, and Philip met a combined 15 times. So
Hmm.
we have a pretty pretty good portion size, if you will. So
Yeah, of course, like similar case with the Kelly Marino Elway didn't mean the locks. Eli played in the NFC, whereas Big Ben and Phil played in the AFC. And getting back to Rivers' point, Chargers during the 2010s, they were like middle of the pack, third place at best. Peyton and Patrick were in his division towards that run. And so that therefore we didn't get a lot of Big Ben and Philip Rivers matchups until he sent Eli and Big Ben and Eli and Rivers, because again, they're in conferences. And as you probably remember from the Eli slide, San Diego got the better of his team whenever they played, or Chargers rather, 'cause again, they played two different cities. But hey, looking into the day, Giants have 2 rings, Chargers are still looking for one. And then as for the first matchup between the class of 2004, it took place in the 2004 season, week on a Saturday, December 19th of 2004, where Big Ben Steelers, had went head to head with Eli's Giants. And while it was a close game, Big Ben Steelers prevailed 33-30. So it was a classic matchup that's available on YouTube if you ever get a chance to see it. As for the
yeah,
postseason, there was only one, and that occurred in the 08-09 postseason with Big Ben Steelers upending Rivers' Chargers 35-24 in the divisional round, which later that year Big Ben would win his second Super Bowl. So yeah, only one playoff matchup during their careers. It would have been fun to see one of these see a Chargers Giants Steelers Giants Super Bowl. But we never got that.
yeah. Unfortunately we never did. Throughout these long lasting careers of all of these three great players here. So that's a good point.
Yeah, because I didn't even get him at the Eli. I know after his second Super Bowl win, the Giants, they were also middle of the pack, out of the playoffs. And for like the last part of his career, aside from 2016, and so basically same case with Philip Rivers and even Big Ben Steelers, they missed playoffs on several occasions despite great regular season numbers, which is why they were media punching bags towards the end of that decade because they were expected to do the whole AFC in general, supposed to do better outside of that team in Foxborough. But you look at the numbers, you say to yourself, hey, you know what? More Super Bowl wins between the two or three. I mean, still got to fill up. So basically, the reverse of 1983, where two of the quarterbacks won Super Bowl, whereas only one of the three won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, definitely a great comparison there for sure.
So that brings us to one more thing. What is their outlook for Canton, Ohio? Well, good news for Eli. You'll be eligible this January, 2025. And then next year will be
All right.
Rivers' turn, and then year after that would be Big Ben. So hey, they'll definitely be on your Hall of Fame ballots in the next few years, folks. So in conclusion, I say pretty two impressive quarterback draft classes, Keenan.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I'm definitely looking forward to the NFL draft coming up very, very, very shortly. To see who goes number one, number two, number three, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so I definitely agree on that front. So
And that's what I like about the draft. When they draft these quarterbacks, I always think, man, it's gonna be so awesome to see them face off against each other, how their careers are going to turn out, the comparisons. Of course, within the last few years, these quarterback draft classes haven't met expectations. But as I mentioned before in our first episode, the draft's hit or miss. You just never know. I mean, the Colts and Chargers thought they had their guy, and they said, "No thanks. We want to play for a better organization." And to Eli and John's credit, it worked out.
yep, yep, for sure. Yep, John Elway, said said no thank you to the Baltimore Colts. The previous season in 1982, didn't win any games, had a players strike, and John maybe was thinking about that. I don't know, but he was thinking, I want to go to a better team that has a good opportunity. So
And also, I bring that up 'cause also the teams that originally picked Eli and John, they end up relocating, didn't win a Super Bowl during their counterparts' careers until, well, at least in the Colts case, after John Elway retired. Chargers, jury's still out on them where when they're going to win their first Super Bowl. And then with the case of and like I brought up earlier, Corsa, he played a factor in both drafts. I mean, 83 and 2004, and, and lucked out on the
yeah,
latter.
you were saying about the relocation and with the teams and with the Colts, it didn't come until maybe the 90s, 2000s when Peyton Manning came along and turned that organization around for sure.
And how ironic. I mean, we're talking about Eli and Peyton wins the organization, wins Super Bowl with the Broncos with John Elway in the front office. How crazy is that?
Yeah, for sure. And well, which 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 brings up a tying of the knot here. Not 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 but yeah, the tying of the knot meaning like excuse me, Peyton Manning winning his last Super Bowl, you know, as a quarterback, in his last season. So
Yeah, same thing. And that's what I enjoy most doing these. It's like how when a person sees like, okay, these stories have really nothing in common, but as we explain it, like, oh, they do have a lot in common with the subjects or the story overall.
definitely, definitely, even with players that don't really have a much impact in the story. Oh, trust me, folks, they can and they will maybe later down the road. But Amir, that's all the time we have for today. Thank
Hmm.
you so much for joining us. If you want to leave comment in the comment section below about the NFL draft stories, feel free to do that. Make sure to check out on our WIX sites as well for more information. So until next time, goodbye, folks.
Yep. Catch you on the flip side.